Founder of Mayflower Event News, Richard A. Stone is the author of Project Mayflower, Building and Sailing a 17th Century Replica. He joined us in the Local Scene studios to talk about this locally and worldwide historically relevant subject.
So Project Mayflower was the undertaking in the mid-1950s to build and sail a recreation of the original Pilgrim ship, 1620 Pilgrim ship, from Plymouth, England to Plymouth, America, to Plymouth, Massachusetts. And it was done in the mid-1950s. It was an enterprise that had both an English component and an American component. So from the very beginning, not only were the Pilgrims British ending up in the United States, this undertaking was a British-American undertaking pretty much from the start. The original ship that it was modeled after, truly, they came over, they withstood tremendous hardships. Half of them died within the first few months that they were here, but they left an indelible mark on the democratic process when they wrote their aspirations on a piece of paper called the Mayflower Compact. The second ship says that countries on either side of the Atlantic have something in common. The United States and Great Britain have a great bond that goes back 400 years to 1620. And that bond, those two pillars of democracy, a symbol of that unity, is seen in the second Mayflower, in Mayflower 2. She is a tribute to unity and cooperation. It's a tangible symbol of democracy. So one of the things that was driving Charlton when he did the boat, when he decided to do it, he had seen the power of symbolism in the Second World War. And he knew that symbols traveled further than words, because not everybody can read in every language, and it's not as universal. So his idea with the boat is that if I can build this replica, sail it across the sea, the International Press Corps is going to have to keep track of it. They're going to report on it. And as they report on it, they will tell the story of people that sailed it, their desire to have just and equal laws for the general good. They wanted democracy, and that's why he did it. He did it as a symbol, a tangible symbol. You look at that, as good as a flag, you have that boat. It's cool to see the ship. She's little. So I think the reaction a lot of people have is just how small the boat is. It's a small craft. It's wonderful to see. And when you know something about the navigation and how they got here, it's pretty amazing. And of course, Mystic did a fabulous job renovating, repairing it. Plymouth, Whit Perry, who's the captain, does a fabulous job with his crew when they go out sailing. They maintain it wonderfully, and I think they really treat the ship as a national treasure. And it is a national treasure. As you know, 2 years ago it was declared a National Historic Site by the Department of the Interior for the 2020 400th anniversary. When they had the Plymouth 400 here, they had a similar celebration in England. So that voyage, this story, when we had our 400th anniversary, they were having the same thing in Plymouth, England. It's a story that connects two nations, England and the United Kingdom and America, very tightly. And those descendants, there are 30 plus million of them, and they're all over the place. When you look at this country and what's coming up in 2 years, the 250th anniversary of it, and we say, despite all of our differences, wherever we are on that spectrum, we all started at one place. And that place was on a cold shore off of the coast of Plymouth, saying, we would like just and equal laws. We're going to work together. Native Americans worked with them, which is why people remember that ship. Because one of my friends says, well, why do they talk about the Mayflower? There must have been lots of ships like that. And there were thousands of ships that came over. But what that group achieved and what they inscribed in that document, lives to this day. And so when you look at the second Mayflower that's sitting in Pilgrim Harbor, it's really a tribute to unity and teamwork and optimism and what can be done together. And while it was done originally as a tribute to past, contributions, sacrifice, World War II, it really became an active participant in mending wounds between the United States and Britain at a moment when they really needed a healer. And that boat was it. So what inspired me to write this story was the photo of Mayflower II entering New York Harbor on July 1st, 1957, the National Geographic photograph. So when I first saw the photo, I thought it was a fake. I thought it was a Photoshop. I mean, there's a picture of this boat going to New York Harbor. There's a blimp. The sky is beautiful. It looked too good to be true. And I thought it was a fake, but it wasn't. It was a real picture. And so that drew me in. I thought, what's the story behind this picture? And then when the ship was relaunched in Mystic, Connecticut, Nathaniel Philbrick said, Mayflower is more than just a famous ship. She's a famous ship in her own right. But he didn't say why. And I thought, well, there must be a reason. So I wanted to answer that question. Why is she a famous ship? And why was a Navy blimp flying over the Mayflower in New York Harbor? And so that image, that speech, made me start to look. And as I began looking, I realized that there was a great story here, an underdog story, the Warwick Charlton story, a story of partnership and collaboration, the Hornblower Charlton story, a story of courage, teamwork, and optimism. And I guess the final encouragement I had to write it came when the Mayflower II was relaunched in 2019. So it was needed to go back to Mystic Seaport for repairs. They did a spectacular job. And when it was put in the water in September of 2019, Nathaniel Philbrick, the famous author of Mayflower that many people have read, gave the keynote speech, and he said, the Mayflower II, she's more than just the replica of a famous ship. She's a famous ship in her own right, ... And being trained as a journalist, I thought, well, why is she a famous ship? It has to be more than the varnish and the sails and the paint. Why is she famous? And so I found out why she's famous. It's the story of my book. It's the story of Project Mayflower, building and sailing that 17th century replica.
You can find Project Mayflower everywhere books are sold.
If you enjoyed this video by the local scene, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching.